stop not too far from now.
In fact, you would expect at just any moment. Glance down to the pit. Team Penske ready in position, but have not put any equipment over the wall. So Al Unser Jr. due for his stop just any moment now, if not on this next lap. And that will give the lead of the race over to Michael Andretti. Doesn't seem logical that in any way the little Al could get in and out of the pits in time enough to keep Michael Andretti from charging and taking the lead. So 68 laps are now complete. And Al Unser Jr. leads it, but very shortly we expect Michael to take over the lead. And we should see a battle between Michael and his teammate. We'll be back.
Paul, as you watch there, there's little Al on the right, Tracy on the left. Little Al actually came out with an advantage over that pit stop. This is another Penske-type strategy thing. His pit stop was only 10 seconds, and it was what we call a time stop, enabling him to come out ahead of Paul Tracy. He went from being like somewhere in the middle tens or say 5th or 7th place along in there up into 2nd place now, and that was all because of good strategy on when he stopped.
So Al Unser Jr. comes out in 2nd place, followed by Tracy, Villeneuve, and Fernandez. Guy that figured so keenly into the points fight was Bobby Rahal. Gary Gerould, you have him now.
Well, the last time we saw him, he was high-fiving the fans coming back, and while that was a great public relations gesture to the fans in the heat, I know you were not happy with the way things turned out. Did Villeneuve do a job on you?
Well, let's put it this way. I think he, I know 2 cars will fit around there side by side. Al Jr. and I did it at the start, and for some reason we couldn't do it in this case, so, you know, I don't know. I think he's getting real tired because he was braking earlier and earlier, and that's how DeFerrin got by him. He went real wide, and you know, it's just unfortunate. Our car was running beautifully and had a great pit stop, and there's all kinds of ways of winning, I guess.
Well, in terms of the championship, and we talked about that as we came on the air today, this is almost a devastating blow.
Yeah, I'd say that this takes us out of the championship. I mean, we had an uphill battle anyway, but I'd say it's pretty well out of reach.
Well, I think in a moment we're going to put you on a headset here and you get a chance to talk with Sam and Bobby and Paul in the booth in these final laps, and we'll get into just how tough it is in the heat today. Bobby, thank you.
Yeah, it's hot, but you know, that's what you work out for. And if the car's handling well, I mean, yeah, it's you know, you're losing a lot of fluid out there, but you got to be in good shape, and if you're in good shape, you're going to be okay.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
All right, here's Adrian Fernandez as he closes down on Jacques Villeneuve. Let's take a look at the points fight right now, because it's become critical at this point in the season. Well, Rahal moves out of that 2nd place position, and as these points are at the start of the day, and Michael Andretti now moves up into 2nd place with Bobby Rahal having fall out. This is if the race ended now, or the points running, whatever term you care to use. And there are, remember, 66 points left in the season. So, well, mathematically, you can still run down through Paul Tracy on the chart. But as Jacques Villeneuve continues to stay in the order, it's not the podium finish that he may in fact have wanted, but it certainly is still a position to extend, if not extend, but protect his lead in the points fight.
Even though Villeneuve is getting a little further away in the points fight, the other guys are really closing up. And of course, 2nd and 3rd is really a big thing in IndyCar racing today.
Bobby Rahal, you may not be aware of this, but there have been extensive reports on the quality of Jacques Villeneuve's brakes, that they were in fact at one point considering bleeding his brakes and replacing it with new fluid, and now they've told him just to stay out there and stay involved. How do you react to that position as we're watching Fernandez close down on Villeneuve?
Well, I don't know, Paul. It doesn't look like it's too bad here. He's, you know, Fernandez isn't going slowly. He's going pretty quickly. Now, it looks like Jacques has a little bit of a problems coming into the last corner into the carousel, but, you know, obviously he's still going fairly quickly. So, you know, whatever problems he has, you can see it there, but they must not be that big at this point in time.
And either they hit something or it flew off the car.
Yeah, it looks like he ran over something on the road, like one of the appendages on the front wing, on somebody's front wing might have come off and they ran over it, but it looks like no harm.
Bobby, I think it's hard for a lot of people to believe that you could drive pretty fast in a racing car with almost no brakes at all. Could you describe what that's like?
Well, you know, it's amazing. You know, Sam, when you run endurance racing, you you decide, well, I'm not going to shift as much because I want to take it easy on the gearbox. The next thing you know, you're going as fast, you know, using half the gears as you were with them all, and you kind of, it's just because you're a lot smoother and you're able to carry the momentum into the car, into the corners. And I think you can do that to some extent with the brakes. Now, obviously, if they get to such a point that, you know, there's nothing there, no brake pedal to speak of, you know, that's a whole different situation. But, you know, as long as there's some brake pedal, it might be a long one, but as long as there's some brake pad being used, you can still go pretty quickly.
And Bobby, don't you think what he's doing, like, for example, down the long back straightaway, he's able to pump his brakes just a little bit without putting too much drag on them. But all the way through the S's and the tight turns here, no time to pump them.
Yeah, exactly, Bobby. You know, he's obviously probably going into the first turn. When he comes out of this corner here, he'll be pumping the brakes up to prepare them for turn 1, and then he'll do it out of turn 1 for turn 2. And, you know, as long as he's got a long enough straightaway, he can get the pads back up to the disc. But as you say, if he's going from one tight corner to the next, that's when he runs into trouble.
Boy, and look at the line that's behind him now. Oh, Bobby, this is some bad news for you. Raul's out.
Yeah, as an owner, that's real bad news.
But speaking of all of that, this is the silly season time. Can you tell us what's in store for your team for next year? Well, I assume you're going to keep yourself as the driver.
Yeah, as Carl told
us. Look at this, Bobby. I want to distract you a little. This is pretty good.
It is. I don't know. Now it looks like Fernandez is having some kind of problem with the braking or what have you. But I'll tell you, if you get outside, there's a lot of rubber and a lot of marbles forming up on the outside of the corners. And if you get a little bit offline, it can really slow you up.
All right, so I interrupted you, and I'm sorry. What about your team for 96?
Well, as Carl Hogan mentioned to you guys at Toronto, we're going ahead and we're going to go our separate ways. It's been a great partnership, but I have the support of the sponsors we're very pleased with, and you know, we intend to go forward, and hopefully we're going to have enough sponsorship to run Raul. He's done a good job for us this year, and I hope we can keep him. I know Carl's got plans that I think he's going to be announcing soon, so I imagine we'll have 2 good teams in IndyCar racing next year, not just one.
All right, so Michael Andretti is still the leader of the race, and we are in the closing laps now. So when we come back, we'll see whether or not Michael can hold on to this almost gigantic 12-second lead over Al Unser Jr. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course with 5 laps to go in the Miller Genuine Draft 200. Michael Andretti, the leader. The focus is here because it's a focus on the points fight. 27 car, Jacques Villeneuve, he was looking for a podium finish. Well, right now he's in 4th place, and Adrian Fernandez has been right there in that bright red and green car, worrying him the last several laps.
It's certainly Adrian's time. He's been good today. He's been fast. That's in the Gallus car. Right there, the car's in 2nd, the green, red, all types of colors on it. He's been good today, but he gets to him, Paul. He seems to get in the rubber on the outside, slides a little bit, and falls back.
Adrian had a quiet first half of the season, but he's been coming on strongly. Of course, his 3rd at Michigan was terrific.
So it's Michael Andretti, then Little Al in 2nd, 12 seconds back, followed by Paul Tracy, then this car, Jacques Villeneuve, then Fernandez, then Brian Herta, and Mauricio Gugelmin. And Michael, the leader of the race, suddenly slows. Now, there had been a report of a header problem, and now look at him in the Penske pits as they urge Al Unser Jr. on, Jack Arute.
Well, that's exactly what the problem. They were actually checking the telemetry, and the way you could tell that there was a problem with Michael Andretti, his father, Mario, just took the headset off slowly, put his head down and shook it. You could hear it the last time by. The car sounded ill. I asked Tom Wirtz if it was a header problem. He wasn't quite sure. Next thing you know, Michael Andretti's out of the race.
Oh, boy. Michael can't seem to buy one this year.
I know, that was really a sad thing for him. It's surely probably not a header. It's probably the engine that broke on the thing, because otherwise he'd have brought it on around. It will still run with the header broken. Obviously, little Al is not having any problem. Look at Michael, just dejected as could be.
80 laps complete, 3 to go. Just 3 laps. A little over 7 miles, and Michael Andretti would have had his 2nd of the season.
This even further consolidates Jacques' lead, because, of course, Michael had taken over the pursuer position in the championship.
And it also puts Jacques Villeneuve in that podium position in third place that Team Green was looking for.
And it also really shows how important the team planning is on the pit stop. The one thing that Roger Penske is so good at, so famous for, is really benefiting Little Al today.
That's a sad view, isn't it?
You know, people just have to realize how hard this race has been today and how good a job that Michael has done to appreciate his feelings.
He may be a little physically done in, too, because he's been driving hard in this oppressive heat. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers get out of their cars after the race, nod like that a little bit.
Well, second place is Michael's teammate, Paul Tracy. He's 7 seconds back. And here's just something to consider. Remember, the last stop by Al Unser Jr. was a very quick stop, a totally timed stop. Now, one assumes that in that 10-second interval that they got the exact right amount of fuel in. But what if they didn't, Bobby?
Well, it would quickly, but it isn't going to. I just know the Penske crew too well. And they've got telemetry. Remember, it sends it from there to the pits, tells them what it's doing. If Little Al, for example, boy, that was a close one right there. If Little Al, for example, with Salazar there, if he was having problems, they'd already have him short shifting and backing off because they know how much fuel he's got. He's worried about that 7 seconds with Tracy right behind him there.
Well, as he runs through traffic, and Scott Pruitt comes right up behind him, could very definitely become a factor in the Little Al's win here. Pruitt's running 11, trying to get back on the leader lap, because he is the one car behind the 10 that are on the leader lap at the moment, Gary Gerould.
Well, we just posed the question about the fuel on that time stop. Are there any concerns they didn't get enough? There are no concerns. Their concern is Salazar. They said a moment ago they felt like he almost ran their driver off the course. And so that was the biggest concern here, not fuel.
All right, the final lap. The white flag is already flown over on the pit straight. And he is very definitely sandwiched in between Salazar and Pruitt, with Paul Tracy closing in. Paul Tracy nibbled 4 seconds off the lead on the last lap. He could do that again this lap. He could be with him at the finish.
And just think about Little Al now. He just absolutely doesn't want to have Salazar be the factor because he can't pass him on the last lap because he doesn't want to take any chances. It could cost the entire race, 83 laps of his work.
On the other hand, he's only got half a lap to go now, which should give him a big enough cushion. And Tracy coming on is going to have to pass Pruitt, who's a tough guy to pass.
Keep an eye back for Tracy. There he is. He still has a car, Alessandro Zampedri, that he would have to get around before he was even on the back of Pruitt. So Al Unser Jr. making the final turn. There is the checkered flag. And Little Al takes the victory at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the 29th of his career and the 2nd this season.